I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and here we are in Lent. We have the next 6 weeks or so to turn away from sin and grow closer to Jesus. And to help us do that here, we sat down and created a list of 5 things we are not doing this Lent.
So we had a bit of a rough Advent last year, and we definitely learned a lot of lessons about opting out from that. So we're going to be taking those lessons and applying them in Lent this year. So let's take a look at the list.
Okay, so the first thing that we are not doing this Lent is we are not using the word always, as in I always give up tea or coffee for Lent, or we always have fish on Fridays during Lent, or we always go to the Stations of the Cross every Friday night during Lent.
So always is a bit of a tough word because yes, there is stuff that we want to do, but if we start using always, that can often box us in and make us feel unhappy and anxious when our plans and God's plans don't coincide, which happens a lot here.
So we know from the Gospel of Matthew that Jesus went out into the wilderness for 40 days to pray and fast, and that's where we get our 40 days of Lent. However, rereading that passage, we notice Jesus went out into the wilderness. And when you go out into a wilderness, really anything can happen. You have no control. Things just come up and you have to deal with them in the moment.
So Jesus probably did not have a set out agenda that he was going to follow no matter what while he was out in the wilderness. So we're going to keep that in mind and just do whatever God asks of us in the moment and get rid of that always mindset.
Number 2, this Lent we are letting go of the idea of getting everything right. I have to do everything right.
So in this book, Beautiful Eucharist, Bishop Andrew Cozzens gives us some wise words. And he says, today, the vision that the world gives us for happiness is that we have to get everything right.
So you know what that looks like. I have to live in the right place or go to the right school or have the right amount of money or the right friends or whatever it is, and then I'll be happy. But having to do everything right all the time is extremely stressful and can cause a lot of anxiety. And yet I think it's a trap that we can also fall into during Lent.
So we can start to say, if I find the right program or the right devotional, if I say all the right prayers, if I get everything perfectly, then I will have a great Lent and I can be so happy with the great job that I did.
Great job, Kate. Yeah, right there. Okay. But the problem with that is that it puts us in the center and not Jesus. It was never supposed to be all about us and our level of perfection. So this Lent, we are letting go of the whole notion of having to do everything right. And we're just going to ask Jesus every day to help us get done the stuff that he wants us to do.
The third thing that we're not doing comes from our Catholic quick read for February, Untroubled by the Unknown by Father Mike Schmitz.
And that is to stop saying, I just want to know, as in, I just want to know how all of this is going to work out, or I just want to know what's going to happen next, or I just want to know what we're going to do here.
So Father Mike has a whole chapter about this, how we think that knowing equals security, that we think if we just know the plan, know what's going to happen, then we're in control and we don't have to worry about it.
So Father Mike says that we can actually opt out of worry. We can make the choice not to worry so much or at all, and let Jesus be our security. We can let go of the idea that we have to know every little detail of what's going to happen and when, and just trust more in Jesus in the moment. And we think that's a pretty good exercise to work on during Lent.
So number 4 is saying I'm a failure or I quit when we stumble or fail in our Lenten resolves or just can't get everything done that we wanted.
One of our favorite stories about Teresa of Avila is how she would stand outside the confessional, and as the nuns came out, she would cheer them on and say, begin again, begin again.
So we're taking that to heart this Lent. We're going to focus less on the failure and more on beginning again. If we have a bad day, we're just going to have a do-over tomorrow.
Absolutely. And if there are bumps in the road, we're not going to give up. We're just going to keep on trying.
So number 5 is saying that this is too hard.
So recently we saw this meme. And yes, it is funny in a very dark kind of way, and it did make us laugh, but then it also made us stop and think.
So this Lent, instead of complaining when things get hard, not just in Lent, but in life in general, we're instead going to try and stop and ask God for the grace to get us through and help us do what we have to.
So we'll be keeping Philippians 4:13 in mind this Lent. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
So that is a look at what we're not doing this Lent, but we also wanted to throw in a look at a couple things that we are doing.
And the first one is kind of random, but for some reason we feel called very strongly to do this, and that is to put a picture of the Divine Mercy image into our cars so that every time we get in the car to drive somewhere during Lent, we can see Jesus and then contemplate his great love and mercy while we're driving around.
And then the other thing is to make an effort to make the sign of the cross slowly and more devoutly. So we were reminded when reading this book what a powerful prayer the sign of the cross is. So we want to just do better this Lent and not make it all sloppy.
Right, because sometimes you get in such a hurry, and then sometimes we catch ourselves not even saying all the words, just Father, Son, Holy Spirit. What's up with that? We can do better. We're going to try.
All right, so that is a look at what we're not doing for Lent and a little bit of what we are doing, and we will keep you updated on how this goes.
So let us know down in the comments, what are some of the things that you are doing or not doing this Lent?
So we hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.